Hey guys, this is Bonfrey from L World. I wanted to say thanks for checking back in. It's been a little while, but been busy with the start of summer, and the reason I really do this channel is to share data and findings as I kind of progress through the game. And lately, I have been finding some new things and making some notes, and finally felt like I had something worthwhile to share. So I'm back to do that. One of the themes I think for today is something that I've dealt with the entire time I've played this game, but much more recently, probably in the last, well, maybe 4 years, whenever it was that settlements came out, where we had kind of had many years of just dealing with this, the main city. And the main thing we were looking forward to was like, when's the next era going to come out? And because that's when, as you guys know, the next GBs come out, and is there going to be one? Is there going to be two? That sort of thing. It was a fairly low speed, fairly static environment, which, in terms of the age up thing, waiting on Inno. So then when they added settlements and obviously, when those eras came along, where they added the Oceanic Terminal, and then the spaceport. Anyway, get the idea. So things have expanded over time, and those of you that are judging the lack of efficiency on my moon, that's fine. I don't care, because I barely make goods on this thing anyway, because I make them all in my city. But anyway, that's a whole other topic. So what's going on lately with you guys? How do you feel, about this event? I'm not going to talk about the last event too much, because I just very much disliked it. I can't say I liked or disliked the rewards, because I took a quick look and wasn't super compelled, probably just based on what I'm looking for, where I'm at in the game. And just the card, the rehash of the card game thing, just really pissed me off. I just didn't like it. I just kind of didn't get it. I just didn't want to work that hard, to be honest. I work hard enough, in my real life. It just went a little bit further than I want to go with all the card shit. So anyway, I just blew that off. But now Summer Event has been one of my favorite events for a while. So what I want to talk about in the video is why I find myself intrigued by the summer event. Not totally stoked about it, but just kind of like, yeah, okay, I'll play it. And so the reason for that, and then also why, for the love of all that's holy, I have decided to start dipping the toe into the QI, or whatever it's called, the Quantum Incursions. So I'll tell you, when Quantum Incursions released, I was like, oh man, they're going to shove this down our throats, and to some degree they are, because they've offered some pretty compelling rewards. So some of the members of our guild really glommed onto it right away, and the fact that in our world we're doing well. I mean, we're highly ranked. I don't know if I think we're probably number 1, number 2, something like that. So a number of players just really started jumping on and playing this thing, and I'm just looking at this thing, I was watching the videos, just going, I kind of don't get it. And then some of the videos were like, oh, don't pay any attention to this, just do that, you only need to build one like military building. And then things sort of quickly seemed to change, but nobody really talked about it. And then it was like, oh, there's like these other things you can do now. I'm going, okay, and what happened to the thing where I was supposed to only build like heavy units and range units, or this or that? It just kind of seemed like some of that went to the wayside. So I know things settle in, and so I'm not trying to express frustration. It's just like, I think it was more just frustrated, like, oh my god, there's another thing I got to do. Is this falling into that is the game a chore? Am I enjoying this? Why do I keep coming back to it? Just, stuff like that. So I'm sure, none of you have ever dealt with those questions before in playing this epic, long, never-ending game that just kind of slowly sucks at you, but your soul, but at the same time somehow provides something that's rewarding enough that you stick around. Certainly plenty of players have been leaving. A number of my friends and very long-term players, kind of original, 1,000 players probably, going away forever, going bye-bye. Other players going, hey, I'm going to take the summer off and just go find a little place somewhere and maybe check my city, maybe not. Might miss a few events. So what? So, there's that too. So my concern is if I leave for too long, I definitely will never come back. So not quite ready for that thought process yet. So anyway, I'm going to talk about why I'm dipping the toe back into QI. I'm not going to get really deep on QI, but I am going to tell you about some things that might compel you to look closer at QI, if that makes any sense. So, get into some details on that, and then also a couple quirky things about QI and some of the buildings, and then also share some resources with you about just some things that I've found that I've kind of, just done some internet searching so that I could compile a few links for you guys that might be of use to you. Maybe you know about them, maybe you don't. One of them is a spreadsheet related to quantum incursions to help you with the city. So, I have my ADD so bad, like I can't see past, like when I go into QI, right? Like I'm just staring at this, what looks like just this EMA kind of like city or whatever, or Stone Age or whatever it is. And I'm just going, I just don't know. Just no. And so I've really had to get past that to just ask the question, like, okay, guys, like, what should I do? Like, I was just doing the stupidest shit. Like, I was building like four of these roof tile houses and like one butcher, and and I finally started looking into it deeper and deeper, and then like, okay, then some of the people doing really well in my guild were like, okay, you need to build like 9 butchers, and I was like, oh my god, okay. So it helped to get the spreadsheet, because this reminds me, for any of you that have been around since the farm thing happened, like, I don't know, four-ish years ago, where, you'd put down the farm and the ochre field and, the other stuff in certain orders, and there were these spreadsheets where you could like paste, 9 of them together and have a series of high maximization of resources, kind of like we did with the cherry garden stuff, like where you could hack the cherry gardens and get like 14 of them strung together, which looked really cool, by the way. Like, I still love cherry gardens in a city, and I'm really pissed that I just had to make a decision at some point to rip them all out, but I still really like the cherry gardens, so the visual of them at least, but they weren't even close to giving the ROI I needed. So bye-bye to cherry gardens. But there was, again, these layouts that would be posted. So, here we are again, kind of in this, like, click on a spreadsheet and then, see what comes up, see what happens with how you want to do it. So I'm not going to do it right now because I have to connect it to my account and stuff, but I'm going to give you the link for that. So that's something, if you just, have a basic Google account, you can log in and check it out. And there's different iterations in the sheet, such as if you're experienced, not experienced. I know that that a couple of the first tab options are the way you want to go if you're kind of new. So I can share that with you. And then the settlement buffs, I haven't talked about. I haven't actually done a show since about the time that happened. So if any of you were playing settlements at the time, whether whatever it may have been, you may have noticed that somewhere in the process of working through your settlement, it just kind of went away, and then it started over, and then there was some other stuff that happened, like whatever it was. But at the end of the day, it was the fact that NO was like buffing the settlement buildings like to a huge degree. So as if you've watched my past videos, you know that I've been questioning, and I still am, what should I keep? What should I get rid of? If I get rid of something, how much work is it to rebuild it? Is it within reach? Is it ridiculous? Am I going to delete my AO and rebuild it? Never. Same as my my ARC, etc. But when it comes to the settlement special buildings, I didn't delete them ever. It didn't really occur to me to get rid of them for some reason. And they were always good enough that I was like, they're not that big and they're kind of cool. Like they were just good enough, right, for me not to really question what was going on. And so then all of a sudden these things became super dope, like overnight. So in my case, I just because the settlement buildings just seemed like such a low ROI, as in the antiques dealer, where it's like, what's my motivation to sell stuff because there's nothing cool to buy? I kind of stopped. I was like cautious. I'm like, well, maybe I shouldn't sell some of these things. And thankfully I didn't. I still had some Stage of Ages, and it's like now the Stage of Ages is so hot right now, and then these other things are just popping out of the woodwork. And and a lot of that stuff comes from past events. So what I thought I would do, I'm kind of jumping now from the settlements. So the point being that now settlements, has reintegrated and I applaud this, the value of doing settlements. I really feel like that was not underscored enough in the past, and now it is. And now, okay, settlements are valuable now. Now I will put up with the pain of going through Egypt, which I just flat out quit and didn't want to do prior. Things like that. I just honestly didn't like the layout. I didn't like the, just the colors. It just was boring to me. And I live in Phoenix, so it's like I don't need to see more sandy, tan things. So I just kind of, was like, nah. So I still need to go through that shit now and so forth. So anyway, but I'm going to do it because it's actually worth it to get the building. So that's cool. I mean, Inno's providing some value out here, okay, go do this now, because it's better. So anyway, I'm going to collect my thought here for a second and be right back. Yeah. So what I wanted to jump back to was, how we've had these events over the years. And there's actually a wiki link that I think is kind of just a cool one to check out. And it just has to do with the special buildings overall. So if I go to this link, it's going to show basically every special building that has been around or been introduced into the game since that started happening. So, back to 2012 and all the way up to current. So what I find interesting is to try to maybe get a little bit of a read into what buildings might become popular again. It's like, well, okay, I guess in theory, all of these special buildings could come back around, so if you're like, well, I'm not going to sell certain things, I like it or whatever, great. But who knows? Maybe the confectionery is going to be the next new crazy thing where they're like, oh, we're just going to have it add, 50,000 population or whatever, or watch fires be a lot less lame than they are right now, wishing wells, etc. So it's a little bit of a dichotomy because it's like, well, we're sort of motivated to sell these garbage things, the ones that are garbage, obviously, not all of these are garbage, but the ones that you're like, I don't see any value in this. I don't ever see any value in this based on the track that I may be on at a given time. Some of these buildings have become irrelevant, to your current play. But then it's like, well, what's it costing you to hold on to it, right? Like, keep it in your inventory. But I mean, so many of my guild mates are like, oh my God, like I sold everything. Like I sold my Stage of Ages. I've sold, some of these buildings that have come back into fashion, and then relevance in the game are just, they're like, it's gone. I got to start over kind of with that. And at least like with the Stage of Ages recently, they had a path to choose a level 1 so that you could then upgrade it. Of course, you didn't get as many upgrades if you didn't have a bunch in stock. So, that's just kind of how that goes. I could see the checkmate square becoming relevant again. I mean, it was so hot at the time. Everybody wanted CMSs. Obviously, well, not obviously, but at the time, people wanted cherry garden stuff. Never seen any value in the statues yet, so they may pull one over our side. Oh, and then the latest one, if you're watching this current event, is they're upgrading the manor. So so it's the governor's manor, and then I gotta get back to my screen here. Governor's villa, and then they're upgrading it to, I think it's the Lord's Manor. Anyway, it's the upgrade for the Governor's Villa building. And I don't have any just because that thing is freaking huge. And, I'm currently infatuated with filling my city with cider gardens, even though it looks not that great because it's full of cider gardens. But, they're also helping me get my attrition up to crazy numbers on GPG. So, they're functional, but I don't have it. My governor's villas are safely in storage. But what was interesting about these when they came out is this was one of the first, if not the first, special building, just in my memory, that gave you units. So this was when they kind of like introduced 4 random units. Okay, so you had the 4 random units, you had goods. This building was like pretty kick-ass because, I mean, it was like kitchen sink. You got happiness, population, attack, coins. I mean, I guess it didn't give you supplies. It's like the only thing this building didn't give you, but like everything else. So the fact that they're bringing this back into relevance and buffing it, I think is pretty cool because this was a landmark building in the history of the game. Like I think I want to say it was introduced in 2020, and it is just really like, I think it's cool that they're going back to it just because it was just a lot better than a lot of the buildings, some of you might remember the Colossus. It's like, well, it's really cool looking, but like it just wasn't that great, stuff like that, or Summerhold Manor, things like that. And the Summerhold Manor, for example, is still sticking around, and it's in the selection kit, for the 2024 event. So if you go to I just type search on 2024, and then Epic Summer Selection Kit, and I go to info. Here's all the stuff. A lot of this stuff, again, Governor's Villa here, becoming available again, but with a buff. And I mean, oh my God, I hope Inno doesn't like go back to the ships again. Those things are huge, and like, oh my God, like I hope they don't go back there. But I think I kept all my ships. But anyhow, sorry, that's a sideline. But let's go to QI. So QI, what kind of got me thinking about QI is one of my guildmates talked about expansions, and he's like, hey, I leaned into QI, and I can buy these quantum expansions with quantum currency, and I'm going, oh shit, here we go. So, I've not been willing to buy metals for years now because, like I must have flagged my account for like, don't ever offer this guy, 200% deals because like ever again. So, I'm not going to buy any diamonds ever again. So anyway, I'm at that point. So I can buy more diamond. I have 8 diamond expansions available, but I refuse to pay retail for diamonds. So I guess we're just at a standoff in that regard. But in terms of quantum expansions, if I lean into quantum a little bit, then I can get the event currency, get quantum metals, and start buying these expansions. So, I mean, one of our members on the first QI, he just kind of like hit the ground running, and he got 4 expansions on his first series of QIs. Because the way I understand it is it's not just one, it's a series of, I think it's 5. Again, I am way out of my hat on this. I'm just going to talk about what I understand and why I'm attracted to this and what I learned so far. So, expansions are very, very interesting to me. And then also back to the links, there's a building that you get that I think you get shards for it called the Neo Marble Gateway. And I don't think it has anything to do with the Royal Marble Gateway, the RMG, but this building is pretty cool. It's just, if you do QI, it just throws off, shards for this thing or frags, and it's got some okay numbers. And what's funny about it is it doesn't help you with QI. It doesn't help your QI stats. But I'm going to talk about that in a second. So, depending on your era, I mean, you can get some pretty good buffs. I mean, especially in the blue areas, not too bad. So that's one to look for. And then let's see this one. What is this one all about? This is an overall. Oh, this was just a Brave search I did on talking about QI, which kind of gives you an overview. I can post that too. It's not really that big a deal. And then the Colossus. Let's see. Yeah, so the Colossus is interesting because it gives you different. Also, you can go to silver, gold, and then it gives you different upgrades based on like where you're at in these levels. But it's required to upgrade. So this is what I really wanted to point out, and I don't think very many people are paying attention to this. It's required to upgrade the Neo Marble Gateway. So if you want to get to a level 2 Neo Marble Gateway, you've got to get this thing. So again, these are things that happen, and I may have misspoke about the Neo helping. One of these two doesn't help you in the QIs, but I don't remember. It might be this one, might be the other one. Anyway, you can look into it on your own time. But what does help you in the QIs would be the other buildings you can put down. There are some other buildings that are applicable, and I'm probably not going to cover them all because I'm not that into this yet. I'm still kind of stepping into it, but I know that the tourney grounds, for example, helps the the Forgotten Temple, right? So that's gonna help. Again, it's these certain blue stats that help. So if you have any interest in QI or these benefits from QI, I would encourage you to look at some of the links I'm going to post. In spite of my relative disinterest in yet one more thing to do, it does, being that I still want to stay engaged in the game, seems like, okay, I better start messing with this. So, it just, there it is. So anyway, tourney grounds helps. And there's others. I don't know which ones, but apparently, I do. The settlement buildings help as well. So these have, and I think it has to do with some icons. I'm pointing at my screen, but it doesn't matter. But you see these red, the red down here. I want to say some of these are now they're really getting granular with like where the attack and where the the blue and the red like have an effect. Gone are the days of like, hey, I've got red, I've got blue. No, it's like way more intense than that. So here we are, so it's like, I feel like there's a new little icon every day. I have to figure out what does that mean? What is that all about? But it just goes to show that, Inno's trying to improve the game. And if anything, they're just screwing around with it for the sake of screwing around with it. I don't know. Maybe see what sticks. But obviously a lot of monetization because, if you go into QI, you can go in and buy the pass, so, buy the Quantum Pass, which sucker me, I went ahead and did it because I found out that it lasts for like the whole series of QIs. So even though I completely sucked on this first one, which is almost over, it's like basically done for this one. and I only got like the first row. I hope to do a lot better now that I have the spreadsheet that I can kind of follow along. And it's like, it's real granular. The spreadsheet's great because it's like, okay, morning of, and then night of, and things like that. It's pretty structured. So hopefully I can do like way better, when I do that. So, oh yeah, get my bonus. Buy diamonds and get event currency. What I like about the summer event is that this event has always been really generous. Like when I was like actively doing diamond farms, this event you just used to like spit out the what are they called, the things you need diamond farms for. Anyway, I don't even care anymore. But anyway, the fountains and all that stuff. So this event was always cool for that. But obviously now there's newer stuff and cooler stuff. But it is a fairly generous event, and I'll tell you that these things that these that's Betsy's bar. These golden dragon gong things are actually pretty cool. I'm been kind of surprised. Like I just keep picking these up from playing the game, and I've spent no actual money on the game on this at all. And in fact, I didn't even spend I didn't spend diamonds, no diamonds at all, like on the whatever this thing is, this treasures thing. Because this event in particular really rewards daily gameplay, because if you're just going in daily and you're getting the unlocking your daily calendar thing, that's a pretty good bonus you get on that. Plus you have the daily challenges, and then of course there's the other thing I can't remember what it's called, but anyway, they do it twice during the event, and you got to do all this stupid shit like we always have to do, like do productions, 24-hour productions 18,000 times and all that stuff. So and you pick up a lot of pretty cool little things along the way, even on that thing. So sorry I'm not more well versed on some of these the names of some of these things, because honestly they're kind of new, and I'm kind of an old school guy. But like this thing, and it talks about and I'm going to find it in a second. I'm going to find it. Rival challenges. So yeah, so the rival challenges give you some pretty cool prizes, even though it's really mundane and just like more of the same to go through them. I felt like it was worth it this time around. Maybe not so much the grand prize at the end of at least the first one we went through, but I did get a lot of these gong things, which level 1 or level 2, I mean, they're pretty decent. They do need a road, which I'm not super excited about. But rogues, and not my favorite unit for SAT. Molecular forces are actually pretty not cool, but pretty good stats for a 1x1. I mean, seriously, pretty good. And then I'm going to talk about space efficiency in another video, but when you get these 1x1 video, or these 1x1 buildings, or I guess we're calling them, that have that much efficiency, it's pretty compelling. They start to get way more efficient than a lot of these other buildings. So just a quick thing on FOE Helper, when I go into one of the filters I use for building efficiency rating is I take off forge points. Just say like, okay, like I'm not going to make that a factor, and I just want to look at my attack, my battle stats, right? Like which buildings are going to give me the best ROI based on the amount of space they take in my city. And so here we are. Obviously Sentinels used to be the shit, and now they're barely, like I'm deleting them. Like mine are just gone because they only get a score of 101%. Obviously there's different things that go into that, because I'm looking at all 4 of these across. Now I can go back in and granulate that down, but it's pretty well known that, at least in my case, I'm, dumping out cider gardens. I don't need autumn vineyards, because as you go up, you get these bonuses, and obviously OBS escalated pretty quickly because it got buffed recently. So, in contrast to some of my recent videos that I was talking about, hey, delete this because I'm not sure, or I'm not saying you should delete it ever. I'm just saying I'm deleting it. Here's why. And I'm willing to deal with that. If I need to build that GB again, I will build it. Like, I'm totally cool with that. I actually did delete some other stuff since then, so I'll do another video on that. But like, you get into these 400s, I mean, this is some crazy ROI. I mean, just these oddball buildings that showed up recently, like the Zephy's things, the Zhang's Golden Bell. That's what I was just talking about, right? Just the level 1 is a 629% score on the on being one square in your city, and it's hugely efficient. So that's pretty incredible. Then when you get to Zhang's level 2, you go to 855. So, I mean, you're in a top 10 efficient building right there. And I think a lot of players might be overlooking that right now. Like with this event, they're like, I don't really know. I'm not really sure. Doesn't seem worth it, because they're looking at the big event building and not necessarily looking at this other stuff that just kind of is peppered in along the way, where you're like, if you're just playing every day, this stuff just kind of pops out and you're like, what is that? And then all of a sudden, oh, that's pretty rad. That's like 8 times better than my Sentinel Tower was, or whatever. So anyway, stuff to look at, it's just one of those things. I can probably be called the pot calling the kettle black, because in the last event, I was just like, screw this event. I don't even want to know. And I probably could have picked up some cool shit, but I was like, I hate the mechanics of it and I'm not going to play it. So bye, so anyway, to each their own. But if you're on the bubble about this, this, event, we're about halfway through it or whatever, I would say check it out, because the efficiencies on these, just on these 1x1s, is quite good. So anyway, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed it, and I will talk to you whenever the next thing is that I got something to talk about. All right, take care.